Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 24 of What If Naruto was sent to the Marvel world. And that's going to be it for tonight guys. I've been getting off track lately, yeah, but don't worry. I'll be getting back in the track soon and I'll be able to post and give you all your wonderful what ifs. So just bear with me for now guys, I'm kind of running short on time. But I also posted a new episode of What If Naruto was banished and got a supernatural ability, so go ahead and check out that and enjoy. And I also posted a brand new episode of What If Naruto was a smart prodigy, so go ahead and check out that and enjoy as well. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King and Anime King 2, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. And remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying and talking back to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what do you say we begin this new episode? Start the intro.
I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their nails.
So, the last spot we left off, the CIA was talking to a woman called Jessica Drew as they wanted her to infiltrate and try to get on Uzumaki's good side to be a part of his team, for her to be their intel in all of this. As none of them trusted Naruto, he was a living bomb after seeing his exploits in Wakanda, but they were hacked by a strange outward source and they weren't able to see anything else. Jessica Drew, she worked with Naruto on one mission before, seeing that she was a part of S.H.I.E.L.D. before it was disbanded. We then skipped Naruto and T'Challa as both of them were fighting, as T'Challa couldn't get a one-up on Naruto. As T'Challa was then called away, as Naruto was looking over Wakanda, as Shuri came there as she gave him a gift to thank him for saving her, as it was a spear made from vibranium that could extend from a small pocket holding object to a deadly weapon. As the queen then came and found them, as they were brought to the chambers, the king told Naruto he couldn't give out any of his assistance because Wakanda's secrets must not be leaked in the world, but Shuri has decided to help them out with her funding, and every now and then she will be helping them out, as Naruto was happy for that, as he welcomed Shuri a part of the team, the Infinity Watchers, as Naruto then went and visited Ileana as he saw everything messed up in her apartment. As he called her, she answered. She told him she was in a pool, but there wasn't a pool in front of her building as Naruto went downstairs, as he saw a commotion as a group of people were there with their cell phones out taking pictures and recording, as Ileana was in a fountain as she was drunk off her ass, as Naruto took her out of it as he brought her to her room. Some time passed as Naruto sent off a clone to visit Jessica, as Jessica was surprised that he just popped into her house like that, as she told him not to do that, as the previous clone that was there poofed away and gave all of the memories, as the second clone understood, as Naruto had a cult that was worshipping him and burning people as sacrifice to him, seeing that the world doesn't know what he wants because he just show up and help and then vanish. They don't understand, as most people think that he's a god and they must worship by doing these awful things. The clone then popped as Naruto got all of the information, as he couldn't believe all of this crap was going on. Ileana then woke up as Naruto gave her the painkillers, as it was her first time killing someone and it was really affecting her, as Naruto told her his first time killing someone, as she asked him if he get better, but he told her to put all of her burden on him because he will always be here to protect her and make sure that she's safe, as she thanked him. So yeah guys, that was basically the last part we left off. You guys can switch across the place and check it out for yourself. So what do you say we begin this new episode? Let's begin. Naruto was still sitting with Ileana. I got us a new member, by the way, he said, as she looked towards him. Who, T'Challa? No, he straight up refused. It's his sister, Shuri. The one you saved? As Naruto nodded. Why though? What does she bring to the table? Well, she's offered to be our quartermaster. That means tech and funding and stuff. Oh, well we definitely need stuff, Ileana said. That is what I was thinking, Naruto said. As she looked at Naruto. I'm sorry for earlier, she said. Naruto chuckled, just don't do it again, okay? Or if you do, invite me along so you're not one of those weirdos who drink alone. As she then looked at him. The both of them stared into each other's eyes, not saying a single word, as this went on for a while, until she leaned forward and planted a gentle kiss on his lips, as Naruto was taken aback, as he could only stand there as his friend pressed herself into him, needing ear, his lips parted out of instinct, as Ileana took this as a sign that he wanted more as she slipped her tongue inside. But Naruto was still a man as he was unable to fight it anymore as he started to kiss her back, as he picked her up, as the both of them started to move crazy around the apartment with her legs wrapped around his waist, as she removed her cloak that she was wearing, as she quickly removed his shirt, as the two then pulled back, breathing heavily because of the lack of air. Catching her breath, Ileana mumbled, "We should stop, right?" "Probably," Naruto said. But they didn't stop as they still continued their action. Meanwhile, "Shall I go to him now?" a female voice said. "No, not yet. We still have 3 years before she arrived after all," said a deep voice. "But wouldn't it be better get it over with? It would be a weight lifted off your shoulders." "Don't you want that before you pass over?" the woman asked. "My sins will stick with me no matter what, in life or in death, my child," the elderly man answered. "If you say so," she said. "Patience, child. We will contact him soon enough." "Of course, my king," the girl said. Time skip, Naruto stirred as he found himself in his mindscape. Well, he was with Frisia, or Death. Well, she wanted to be called Frisia, as he saw her at the campfire. As Naruto went and have a seat beside her. "Hello, beloved," she called out softly, smiling at the man she claimed to love. "You've been productive." "Is that a joke?" Naruto asked. "Not at all. It looks like you are enjoying yourself though." "That was a mistake," Naruto said. She tilted her head curiously. "Why?" she said. "I can't explain why. It just was." "Do you really not care for Ileana?" she asked. "No, I do," Naruto said. "She's important to me." "Then why are you feeling this way?" He scratched the back of his head as he looked towards her. "You tell me," he said. "Okay," she said, much to Naruto's surprise, as she glided over to him, as she placed her hands on his shoulder, as she then reached up and started to mess with his hair. "Your entire life, you haven't been able to let people go. Positive or negative, if someone left an impression, it stick with you. That's how your friendships were made. But it was also a major source of heartache. Sasuke being the best example. Even after your bond was broken, you still refused to let him go." "What are you saying?" Naruto said, as he tried to ignore the soothing feeling that she was giving him. "I am saying that a part of you hasn't let go of what you and Natasha have. Even though you severed it, that lonely child that grew up refused to let go of the one woman who's ever truly loved you. But you need to understand the feelings you have for Ileana can grow and blossom into something beautiful. You just need to let go of the past." "Do you understand?" she asked. As Naruto remained silent for a few moments, he then cleared his throat. "Why are you telling me this stuff? Don't you love me? Shouldn't you be upset that I feel this way about another woman?" She chuckled slightly. "I am doing this because I love you," she said. "For the first time in my existence, I have the opportunity to put someone else's needs above my own. It's a wonderful feeling." "You've never loved anyone else before?" asked Naruto. "No, not before you." As Naruto saw a flicker of sadness in her eyes. "I'm sorry," he said. "Why are you sorry?" she said, curious. "Because you had to have been lonely. And I'm sorry, because I know how that feels. And you have to be here by yourself until now," he said. "You don't need to apologize," she said. Still, Naruto said. As he then thought, "I cannot promise that I'll ever feel the same way that you do." "I know," she said. "But I can promise to be your friend," he said. As a truly happy smile came on her face. "I can accept that for now," she said. The two shared a small smile as a bright light filled the area, swallowing Naruto whole. Slowly, Naruto opened his eyes as he felt something pressing hard into his shoulder. As he looked down to see Ileana, as she was pressing against his shoulder, as she was asleep, as the bed sheet was thrown over them, both of them completely naked. Is that really the smartest thing to do? Said Kurama. I know, Naruto said. You're supposed to work with her, aren't you? What happens when these fall apart? Kurama asked. What makes you think that something that will happen? Can't you just think that everything will be alright? I'm just looking out for you, Kurama said. Without thinking, Naruto spoke. I'm tired of being alone. As Ileana stirred a bit. You never are, Kurama said. Naruto felt Ileana jolt a bit as she realized she was laying on top of someone. Several emotions swept across her face that Naruto immediately recognized. Surprise, recollection, and then regret. Hey, he said weakly, after seeing that last look. Hey, she said, as she pushed herself off of him. What time is it? She asked. He looked over at the clock. 7 in the morning. It's morning? As he nodded. Jesus, she said, as she picked up the blanket and covered herself, as it was really awkward. As Naruto didn't know what to say, as he spoke something stupid. Did you like it? I mean, you know, he said, only to flinch, as that was a really dumbass question. Yeah, I did, she said. Oh, he said awkwardly. Good. She then looked towards him. That was a mistake, right? I don't really know, to be honest, he said. Yeah, she said. What do you think? He asked. I'm still trying to process that it happened, she said, chuckling quietly. Naruto laughed along. I know what you mean, he said. We're so stupid, she said. I mean, what were we thinking? Naruto said. That's the problem. I don't think we were thinking at all, she said, moving her hair out of her face. The laughter subsided and new silence came, but this one was comfortable. Can I tell you something? Naruto said. Sure, she said. I know that this was probably stupid. We have a good thing going, and if you don't want to complicate it, I can understand. I just keep getting in my own head, trying to think of a reason why this is complicated and stupid, and why it should happen. But no matter how many reasons I think of, I still don't really care. You know, when I was a kid, I would throw around the precious person label a lot. To anyone who didn't outright hate me, really. But after coming here, it got really hard to call anyone that. And it still is. Ileana sat there, listening to him as he spoke his mind. As he looked her in the eye. But I can, with you, he said. She rested her hand on his. You're important to me too, she said. As Naruto started to smile, he was cut off by a soft but. But, he said. I can't be the kind of person you want me to be, she said. You're smart, handsome, brave, and sweet. But you're also broken. Every time you look at me, I don't feel like you're looking at me. I feel like I'm a reflection or something, of someone you knew. You do it without even knowing that you're doing it. And you're going to look to me to fix you. And that is something I cannot do, because I'm not that person. Naruto looked down. This feeling of rejection. Oh, okay, he said. That doesn't mean I don't want to be your friend or your partner, she said, as she squeezed his hand tightly. Naruto smiled sadly as he chuckled. I meant what I said about you being precious to me. That kind of thing don't go away. So I was told, he said. I'm sorry, she said. Me too, he said. Time skip. Location. Winchester, Virginia. As the bus could be heard. As Ileana groaned, why are we taking the bus again? She asked. Because there are no taxis here and I don't want to rent a car. It's not my fault you teleported us to some random building in the city, he said. And it's not my fault there is no picture of the place he works on Google. And I picked the first picture I saw when I googled the town, Ileana said. Well then, it's clearly no one's fault, and we're going to just accept the fact that we're riding a bus, Naruto said, folding his arms over his chest. Ileana looked over at him as she sighed. Sorry, she said. Me too, he said. I should have just let you do this alone like you wanted, she said. No, Naruto said. You had every right to come along. That and what she said. Well, you know, things have been awkward as hell. And I think we just need to break the ice a little bit. And I figured this was the best way to do it. Right, Ileana said as she turned towards him. I agree, we made a huge mistake, she said. Huge, Naruto said. But we're adults, we're friends, and we're part of a team. And sometime there's gonna be a bump or two on the road, she said. And this was just one of those bumps, Naruto said. Exactly, Ileana said. So we're not gonna be stopped by this bump. So yeah, no weird little bumps is gonna stop us. Weird like when you got into a fight with Jessica Jones, when we went to talk to her, Naruto said. Well, she was being an asshole. Well, I'm guessing you just have to know her, Naruto said. That is the way she acts. I don't like her, Ileana said. The way she talks to you, it pissed me off. Well, she's been helping me out, and she will continue to help me out if I pay her, Naruto said. Why don't you just make her a member, then Ileana asked. But inside she was glad that he hadn't yet, because she hated that girl. Well, she's kind of a lone wolf, she's gonna say no. Well, she's a bitch, alright, said Ileana, as Naruto tried to hide his amusement. As the two then went into a comfortable silence, until she spoke again. Can I ask you a question? Sure, Naruto said. Why didn't you learn any kind of magic from the Ancient One? Hell, a good chunk of the things I learned could have been useful to you, Ileana said. Naruto scratched the back of his head. Do you know how many people have asked me that? No, Ileana said. Well, every single person that is aware of my connection to the master of the ancient arts, Naruto said. Every single person. Well, make it one more then, she said with a helpful smile. Fine, I can't do it, that's why. You can't? Yep, I can't, he said, as Ileana gave Naruto a blank look. That's hilarious, she said. I'm not joking, Naruto said. I asked her to train me in the way of the ancient arts, but she told me I wasn't capable of learning anything that she could teach magically. She helped me get up to date, information-wise, but other than that, the only thing I do was spar around the temple. But you can breathe literally fire and walk on water, Ileana said. That's not magic, that's chakra. I've told you about that before, Naruto said. So you have the thing necessary to learn, but you can't use it the way to learn magic. Yeah, I'm incapable of learning magic, Naruto said. Wow, that sucks, said Ileana. Well, that is what AC told me. Why do you call her AC? Oh, AC equal ancient chick, Naruto said. As Ileana blinked, you call the Ancient One the most powerful sorcerer that everyone has ever known an ancient chick? AC for short, Naruto said. That's so lame, said Ileana. Naruto smiled. That is what makes it perfect. Wait, does she know that's what it means? Well, I don't know, Naruto said. The bus then came to a stop as the two got up and exited the bus. As they arrived at a grocery store, I can't believe that someone who is ranked by the world government to be as dangerous as Bruce Banner worked at a local grocery store. Well, in his defense, he's been an ex-con who has been in prison since he was 9 years old. It's not like he's gonna come out with every opportunity available to him. As the two walked into the store, as the two walked over until they saw an employee, as Naruto walked over, excuse me ma'am, but do you know if Owen Reese is working today? Owen? Yeah, she said, as she looked them over. You his parole officer or something? No, just some old friends, Naruto lied. As she pointed over to the back of the store, he works over in the dairy. Just knock on one of the doors if you don't see him. Walking to the back of the store, the two looked over for the man that matched the picture in the shield file. Not seeing him, Ileana walked over as she knocked on the glass. Can I help you? A voice said. As they turned to see the man behind them, a lanky young man around Naruto's age with a dark complexion. As he had an annoyed look on his face, his eyebrow twitching in curiosity and impatient. Are you Owen Reese? Asked Ileana. No, Owen said, trying to walk past them. We were their file, Owen, said Ileana. What you can do is incredible. Are you guys with Sheila or something? No, Ileana said. We just want to talk to you about a common interest that we all might have. And what's that? As Ileana and Naruto share a look, as Ileana opened a portal that was the size of a basketball, and the other portal appeared beside Owen's shoulder. She placed her hand through the first one, and her hand came through the second, tapping Owen's shoulder. As Owen looked at the both of them in a new light. You think you can take a break so we can talk, Naruto asked. Yeah, sure. Owen took them out to the back of the store, as he had a cigarette lit up in his hand already. So you both got powers like me. You want me to join your club or something? Owen asked, releasing smoke. We read your file, Naruto said, your powers. They were pretty scary. If you were to master them, I can't even describe what you could be. You know, I heard this speech before, and out of all of them, yours is probably the worst. And trust me, I ain't no hero. What kind of club are you guys again? We're building a team to hunt down and collect some items called the Infinity Stones, Ileana said. Never heard of them, said Owen. You wouldn't have, Naruto said, but trust me when I say, they're dangerous in the wrong hands. Trust you, huh? Owen said. And how do I know that you're not the one with the wrong hands? I understand if you don't trust me, and in all honesty, I knew that you wouldn't be up to join right away. Instead, I'm going to give you an opportunity, Naruto said. Let me teach you how to use your powers. Use my powers, Owen asked. That's right, Naruto said, as Owen took a drag. You read my file, right? Naruto nodded. Then you know why I got locked up. I hurt people. I lost control, and because of that, people died. After that, I hated using my powers, Owen said. Yeah, I read that, Naruto said. That is why I want you on my team. Owen raised an eyebrow as he was confused. What? I know what it's like to hurt people with a power that you can't control, Naruto said softly. I hurt people I love. I know what it's like to shun that power and hate the idea of using it. I know what it's like to fight for every inch of control, all in the vain attempt that maybe one day you won't have to hurt anyone else. I had to literally fight with myself over control. But in the end it worked, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. My curse became my blessing. I can help you do the same thing, Naruto said. Owen looked down. My mom used to call my powers a blessing too. Something would be breaking around the house, and I would be her big helper by fixing it good as new. But she was afraid of what the world would say about me if they found out. This was all before people with gifts were expected to become superheroes. I grew up thinking I would never be a hero. But my mom told me I should use my gifts. I should be a hero of something. So, she replaced herself with the world, and I became her hero. The cigarette butt in his hand started to glow as it reformed into a full cigarette. Good as new, as he brought it to his mouth, as it lighted up again. Then, she died, he said. And I hurt people. That kinda put a damper on the whole hero business. If you hate using your powers, how did you learn to do that, Ileana asked, as she was impressed by the small display. I was in solitary confinement for my entire sentence. The only contact I had was with Mr. Pierce, the warden, and a physician named Dr. Kirby. Mr. Pierce would try and sell me on how I should use my powers, and Dr. Kirby would make sure I wasn't killing myself when I used them. Both of them would come by once, maybe twice a month, but the warden, he'd come in on a weekly basis. He asked me to use my powers with the promise of a reward. Make 10 copies of a brick, I will get a softer mattress. Make the block disappear, I got a better meal that night. Make his clipboard bigger, he gave me some school book to study. Make some evidence disappear, I got a bigger cell with a window. If I refused or failed to do what he wanted, he'd take those things away. That's terrible, said Ileana. Owen shrugged. It made me learn the basics, I guess, he said. Then how about you come and learn the advanced stuff, said Naruto. He then flicked the cigarette away. When I did all of that for the warden, I told myself I would never be anyone's monkey again. I'm not gonna dance for you, man. Then don't do it for me, do it for yourself. Trust me when I say that getting that weight off your shoulders is the best thing for you right now. Because if you don't, you're just holding yourself back, Naruto said. Owen seemed to get angry as the conversation was going around in a circle. Look man, I can't just go off with you guys. I got the FBI all over me after S.H.I.E.L.D. fell apart, and I also got my job. The job I need to live. So unless you can let all of those things go, we can pay you, Ileana said, cutting in. We recently got a benefactor whose family is the richest in the world. That means a place to live as well. But I can take care of the FBI, Naruto said. Owen looked at Naruto. You can't just take care of the FBI, he said. Well then, if I do, would you at least come over and let me teach you, Naruto said. He walked past him. Look, I gotta get back to work, he said. But he then stopped as he slid his hand down his face. Alright, if you do all that shit, I'll do it. But only then. As Naruto looked towards Ileana as Owen left. I think we just got a yes, he said. Well, ease in, said Ileana. We just gotta take care of the problems. A month later, location Washington DC. I can't believe he's late. I can't say I'm shocked, he's a busy kid, said Tony. A busy kid that can replicate himself, said Rogers. Don't worry, he will show, Tony said. The two were sitting in a waiting room in the headquarters of the CIA. You told him that the meeting was at 11, right? Rogers asked. Yep, said Tony as he adjusted his shades. In the morning, Steve asked. Pretty sure, Tony said. What do you mean pretty sure? Either you did or you didn't, Steve asked in annoyance. Well, I'm not going to pretend I know exactly what I said when I told him that last week. And by the way, who has a meeting at 11 in the night? Come on, man. Their back and front was cut off as the door swung open. "I'm not too late, am I?" said Naruto, as he walked forward and smoothed out his hair and his jacket, as he was wearing a rather dark blue business suit, making him look strangely professional. "Nah, you're right on time," Tony said. "Well, technically, he is late," Steve said. "We just haven't been called in yet." As Tony waved it off, "That's fine," he said. Sitting down next to Steve, Naruto muttered, "The boss, kind of lost track on time and totally spaced out when to send me." As Steve looked at him, "You're a copy?" "We prefer the term clones." "Well, what is the original doing that made him can't show up?" "He's raiding a Hydra base. He will swap with me though as soon as he's done." Tony raised an interested brow. "And that could wait, why?" "Because we found the dead trickster, God's scepter, that's why." Moments earlier, at Sokovia, a massive compound shook as a tremor teared through the ground. "Who's attacking? Is it the Avengers? It has to be the Avengers." "We're not seeing the Thunder God, Stark, Agent Romanoff. None of them are showing up on our feed." "Then who the hell is tearing to our man like this? It is unreal." Standing amongst his subordinates, a man was standing there in a green business uniform as the Hydra pin was on his left chest. As he turns attention towards a large array of computer screens. "It's not the Avengers. I said something just as bad." As one of the men turned towards his superior, "What could be worse than the Avengers?" As the man glared down at the screen and pointed, "The maelstrom," he said. As everyone turned their attention to the screen that he was pointing at, as Naruto, covered in his golden cloak, was tearing through the enemy. As he somehow spotted the camera as he gave it a salute. "I can't believe it," whispered a middle-aged, well-dressed man. "Why is he attacking?" "Perhaps he learned about your experiments, Dr. Liss," the man wearing the green business suit answered. "Surely you meant our experiment, Wolfgang," said Liss. "You're just as involved as the rest of us." Wolfgang von struck aside. "Indeed." "What is our order, sir?" asked the closest soldier. "All outside forces are to converge on the south structure. That is where he's going. Tell them that you're to hold him off as long as possible while we get all of the information as soon as possible. When we have what we need, they will hear a call to retreat. And they are not to flee until they hear that call, no matter what he throws at them." "What of the laboratory, sir? The research?" "We will get what we can, leave what we can. We can't afford to be killed or captured." "Not now after all we accomplished," Strucker said. "And the miracles?" Dr. Liss asked. Strucker scoffed. "They're not ready." "But they're the perfect weapon to distract him with. If we leave it to the man, he will be here in minutes. You've seen the footage from the invasion. Not even minutes, seconds. You know what he's capable of." "Fine, send them out. If they're overwhelmed, they should retreat. They only need to hold him off." Liss smiled. "Yes, sir," he said. Meanwhile, Naruto slammed his fist straight into a tank, as the tank was sent flying away and crashed into another. As another group of soldiers are coming his way, as Naruto extended his arms out to look like a gun, as he fired off wind bullets, as they tear through the soldiers like they were tissue paper, water going through it. As a battalion of men was coming towards him, Naruto went through handstands. He slammed his hands together, Acid style, Wisdom, Wolf Decay. As Naruto released a thick, corrosive acid, it was pink, going into a large group of the man coming from the west. The acid started to melt everything he came in contact with, the trees, the boulders, everything. As Naruto could hear the screams of pains, but he drowned it out and continued on his path. "You gonna finally let me out?" Brad Kurama asked, as he was excited at the prospect. "Sorry buddy, but this needs a bit more finesse than what you're capable of." "I don't know whether to be insulted by that or not," Kurama said. "I thought you always took my thoughts towards your destructive side as praise," Naruto said. Kurama scoffed. "Whatever, at least you're finally doing something destructive." Before Naruto could say anything, he was hit from behind as he tumbled over. As he quickly looked around, trying to find what the hell just hit him. Suddenly, he heard someone hitting the ground at a rapid pace. He then ducked as a fist passed his head. It was like a blue streak. As the blur came to a stop, as Naruto blinked, looking towards the man that seemed to be around his age. The man raised an eyebrow. "You saw that coming?" "Wow." You're the man they were talking about, right? Of course he is, Pietro. Another feminine voice came from behind Naruto. Just look at him. As he kept his stance on Pietro, as Naruto turned towards the newcomer. She was around his age with long brown hair decorated with scarlet, red highlights. Her hands then started to glow a strange red energy. Pietro scoffed. I told you not to call me that when we were working, Scarlet. She shook her head. I'm not calling you Quicksilver, so you can just forget it. As she then glared at him a bit. And don't call me that. Fine, I just thought you like a cool code name like mine. I'm sorry, Naruto interrupted. I don't mean to cut in what the hell this is, but who the hell are you guys? Who we are doesn't matter. What matters is that we stop you, the woman said, as the energy around her started to flare even more. Oh, I get it, Naruto said. You're with Hydra then. Pietro shook his head. We're with anyone who points us where to go. Naruto then stomped his foot on the ground as a column of earth rised up, throwing Scarlet in the air. Wanda, yelled Pietro, but he got a fist slammed into his face as Naruto appeared in front of him. Damn, he said, you're fast. Pietro then sent out his fist into Naruto's stomach. Naruto could say that he was fast. Probably, Rock Lee or Guy Sensei. But still, Naruto could keep his watch on him. He couldn't shift him that easily. As Naruto sidestepped the punch and slapped Pietro in the back as he was off balance as he fell over on his face. Naruto then grabbed him by the shirt and threw him to a nearby tree, knocking the wind out of him. Wanda then landed right next to him as Naruto felt something grab his ankle as she thrust her hands upward. Naruto was thrown into the trees, crashing through two of them before coming to a stop on the third. Red Angel then grabbed his throat as he was pulled up into the air as Wanda ran over to her brother. But Naruto used Kurama's chakra and blew out of that Red Angel as he dropped to his knees. She's strong, Kurama said. Naruto chuckled. Yeah, I didn't see that coming at all. The other kid is fast too, but you can deal with that as long as you stick to any of the cloaks. But she's a bit trickier. As Naruto couldn't say anything as he was grabbed again by the strange energy as Pietro appeared and delivered several blows to Naruto as he slammed his fist into Naruto's stomach as Naruto coughed up blood. Naruto's eyes then snapped towards him as he catch Pietro's punch. As Naruto slammed his fist into Pietro's stomach as Pietro's eyes went wide as everything was knocked out of him. Naruto grabbed his throat and lifted him off the ground and smashed him down so hard the ground exploded underneath him. He was then blown back away from Pietro by Wanda, but Naruto landed on his feet. A Rasengan formed in his hand as he dashed towards her. As Wanda quickly raised a wall of shield out of her engine as Naruto slammed his Rasengan into it as he was surprised as the Rasengan was being pushed back. As the wall was strong, the pressure of the Rasengan building up, it exploded, sending the two flying back. As Naruto bounced off the ground harshly, he then quickly got up as he dusted off the tree bark. As Naruto walked over to Wanda to check on her, but the moment he reached close enough, she reached out as she grabbed him, placing her hand on his head as Naruto felt all consciousness leave him. Naruto blinked. Where am I? As a very confused Wanda was beside him. We're in my Mindscape, Naruto said. She jumped at his voice as she threw her hands up. As she shook her hands, but nothing was happening. You can't use your power here, intruder. This is my world. Wanda's eyes went wide as she jumped. As she started to shake. What the hell are you? She said. Kurama smirked. I am Kurama, the 90th fox. My tails cause natural disasters. My roars can destroy entire cities. My mere presence or challenge the gods themselves. I am the harbinger of hate, death, and despair. Most hate me, all fear me, so don't think about challenging me, intruder. I will not hesitate to obliterate you and everything you hold dear and love. As Naruto wanted to burst out laughing, I think that's the best speech you have ever given, Kurama, Naruto said. Of course, the best speech are the ones that are true. As Wanda just looked at the both of them. Well, what are you? She asked. I'm just a guy, Naruto said. What exactly did you do to me? I assume you did this. My abilities, they never did this before, she said. Well, I'm gonna guess you were trying to do some kind of mind thing to me, Naruto said, but Wanda didn't answer as she just kept on glaring at him. Well, if that's the case, I ran into a lady who messed me up mentally before. After that, me and the big guy over there set up a safeguard. Safeguard, Wanda said, as Naruto nodded. Anyone that tried to brain rape me gets sent here to chat with us. So, let me guess, I can't leave until you let me. Yes, Naruto said. But my brother won't let you keep me here for long, Wanda said. Oh, you should know, this whole conversation is moving at a speed that is way faster than outside. By the time we're done, it had only been a few seconds out there. That's how this seal works. Wanda cursed to herself as she pulled deep into herself, trying to find the energy. As Naruto raised an eyebrow, as he then gasped in shock as red energy started to leak from her. As Kurama looked off in shock as well, Naruto, that energy, it's cosmic. Wanda saw everything disappeared, as she then found herself in a strange place. It was like a schoolyard, as she saw children and everyone laughing, but beside her was a boy, as he was a younger version of Naruto. As he was watching the children and their parents. Stop it, he said. She didn't know what to do. I said stop it, he screamed at her, as her energy connected with the boy, as a sudden flash of memories went through her mind. A man with a scarf on his face leaned over a scared Naruto with a giant, strange thing in his back. A pretty girl in a pink dress talking about protecting what is precious. A boy in a green bodysuit being attacked by a wall of sand, as the sand crushed his leg. And a black-haired boy with red eyes with tomos in them, shoving his hand that was covered in lightning through Naruto's chest. A older Naruto talking angrily to a man about vengeance. A crippled man that had strange purple eyes. Older Naruto looking over a massive gravestone as he wrote another name into it. Wanda then saw everything vanish as he was falling. She closed her eyes, but when she opened them, she was back in the cell. Naruto was huffing as his mind was just tampered with. Well, how did you do that, he said. I don't... Those powers, you're using cosmic energy. It's diluted. But when you use enough of it, it's obvious, Naruto said. Where did you get them from, your powers? Why would I tell you, Wanda said, huffing in desperation. What was all of that? My past, Naruto said. As Wanda's eyes widened, that was real? You lived through all that? How much did you saw, Naruto said. I saw enough. How did you do it? Do what, Naruto asked. I saw you talk to the man who killed your teacher, but you forgave him. How could you forgive someone like that? I didn't see the point in continuing such a stupid cycle. If I killed him, the people of his village would have wanted to kill me in return. And if they had somehow succeeded, my friends would have went after them to kill them. And the hatred, the cycle would just continue on, bringing more death. So that is why I ended there. As Wanda looked at him shocked. You make it sound like it's easy, but it's not. It's not when everything is taken away from you. And the person gets off because they claim to have a change of heart. That kind of person doesn't really learn from their mistakes. Their victims aren't given retribution. So let me guess, you have to take that own retribution into your hands, right? He then shook his head. There is no such thing as retribution. Nothing can replace what's ever taken from you. She narrowed her eyes. I will never forgive Tony Stark, he said. As Naruto's eyes softened, you asked me how I forgave the man who killed my master earlier. As Wanda kept quiet, as she was curious. I never forgave him. He took away my master and destroyed my village. When I met him, I wanted to kill him right there. But I recognized that all I was doing was feeding the thing that I hated. I wasn't following my master's teachings. I didn't forgive him. I simply replaced my hate with something else. What's that, she asked. Understanding, Naruto said. Wanda scoffed. And if that's not enough? Sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. But it's best to move on other than let someone's life consume yours. You don't have to listen to me though. I'm just an asshole who hate the concepts of revenge. It has destroyed so many people's life. A lot of them, people I love. He then looked towards Wanda. What do you expect to get out of it? At first she was so sure, but now she couldn't think of a good answer. But she then spoke. All I want is it to feel like it wasn't for nothing. It is always for nothing, Naruto said. As he walked up to her and placed a hand on her shoulder. I think it's time we left. Wanda opened her eyes as she was back in the real world. As she saw Naruto dusting off his clothes. As Naruto looked over at Pietro, I'm done fighting you too. Get your sister and leave, Naruto said. Pietro growled as he dashed forward. As Naruto sidestepped him, as the blur shot past him in a whoosh. As Pietro came to a stop and was about to charge again. Pietro, stop, said Wanda. That's enough. But Wanda, I'm done fighting him. Let's just go, she said. We don't have to do anything for them anymore. We got what we wanted from them. Let's go. Pietro struggled with this, as he dashed her aside as he picked her bridal style. Where to, he asked. Anywhere but here, she said, as she glanced at Naruto. Goodbye. Naruto Uzumaki, she said. How do you know his name? Asked Pietro. I will tell you later, she said. Okay, Pietro said, as the both of them dashed off. They weren't all that bad. Krama scoffed. You mean she wasn't all that bad? Come on, let's go, Krama. Meanwhile, Strucker looked at the screen. Those ungrateful brats, he said, as he then looked over to Liz. I told you we shouldn't send them out. I thought they wouldn't run from a challenge given their new gifts. It doesn't matter, Strucker said. You're right, it doesn't. Everyone turned in shock to see Naruto lean against the wall. His cloak deactivated. Strucker tried to calm his nerve as he stepped back. How did you get in here? Naruto chuckled a bit. I swept through your man like a plague. And you want to know how I get in the room? You need to get your priorities straight, man. Liz, that was shaking, took a step back. What do you want? Loki's staff, Naruto said. We don't have... But Strucker couldn't get finished a sentence as Naruto appeared in front of him and grabbed his throat. You don't even understand what you have. Give it to me, Naruto said. Now. We understand enough, Liz said. With a scepter, artificial intelligence, we can push the advantage of humankind forward beyond decades. We managed to scratch the surface of this intelligence. Given more time, Enough, Naruto said. If by scratching the surface you mean passing on the scepter's energy towards people, towards human test subjects, then I don't want to hear any of it. If you can't understand the improvement of my... Liz suddenly went quiet as he dropped to the ground a thud. A winged bullet ripping right through his skull. Naruto then turned towards Strucker. Tell me now, where is the scepter? In the laboratory. I'll take you, he said, that shaky tone. But guys, me ending this episode right here. If you want to see the next part, if you already know what to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn that bell notification to stay posted. Remember, share to all of your friends in your social media platform. I hope you guys enjoy each and every watch of tonight. I'll be seeing you guys tomorrow. I hope you guys stay in tune. For now, I'm out. Peace.